After the dramatics of Week 11, Week 12 is yet another action-packed slate with a series of phenomenal games. Starting these off with the Kansas City Chiefs taking on the Carolina Panthers. And throw out the names for a second, let's just look at the facts. There is one team in this game who is coming off a 2-game winning streak, who has reinvented themselves, who have found fire in their offense and defense, and is coming off a bye. There's another team who has been dragging themselves through the year. Injury-prone, old, suffering, getting through it. They have sustained a tough loss to their rival, and now they have to play a well-rested team off a bye. I think I'm taking the team on a 2-game winning streak with better offensive weapons, with more passion, more fire, with houses which have not been burglarized. I think I'm taking the Carolina Panthers in a vacuum to win this game in Charlotte.
I am not buying the idea that Bryce Young is all of a sudden this competent or solid quarterback that is going to play Kansas City and light up their defense, especially when this team, coming fresh off a loss against their rival, is going to be fired up. They want to get another win in the win column. A 15-for-25 game, 126 yards against the Giants, and a 16-for-26 game, 178 yards, a touchdown, interception. There's still a lot of work to be done for Bryce Young, and just because they won a couple close games in a row doesn't mean he's all of a sudden going to be back putting up a big stat line against the Kansas City Chiefs.
Oh, so we're diminishing teams winning close games now. I assume you're going to criticize the Chiefs then.
This is the Carolina Panthers of the worst defense in the NFL and a passing attack that's among the worst in the NFL too.
Was among the worst in the NFL.
Is
Completely
still
different.
among the
Also,
worst
that
in the
interception you are trying to blame on Bryce Young, we both know that pick was malarkey. We both saw the film. We both know that should be a fumble on Xavier Legette. But continue with your hating.
The Panthers are a bad team. The fact you think they have a chance at sniffing the Chiefs in this one is something else. The Chiefs are going to win.
Sniffing I think they'll probably get a pretty good whiff of the Chiefs, considering it's going to be a 60-minute. Assuming, of course, the Panthers don't screw around and let this game get driven over. They're probably going to get a good whiff of their opponent.
Vikings, they're heading to Chicago.
They're heading to
Chicago to take on the Chicago Bears.
Oh, you're not doing this. You're
Caleb
not doing
Williams
this. If you do
had
this,
a good
I'm
game
going to say some
week.
bad things. I will talk over you louder. You can intro the next one. You don't get to do this one, son. I will give the Chicago Bears the credit they are deserved. Their offense looked somewhat functional last week. They should have beaten the Green Bay Packers. They were the better team with the exception of their special teams. Their defense still rock solid. Caleb Williams looked like a legitimate NFL quarterback, got DJ Moore the ball when he needed to, and all in all, the offense was clicking. Brian Flores is going to do things to Caleb Williams on national television I cannot describe on YouTube. Flores thrives on quarterbacks who don't get the ball out quickly, who move outside the pocket, who struggle to analyze coverages. That is Caleb Williams. Flores is going to sack this man 17 times, maybe 18, but I'm feeling generous. I'll say only 17. This is going to be another Cardinals-Patriots type game for the Bears. Their offense is doing nothing, barring a big DJ Moore explosive play or DeAndre Swift 40, 50-yard carry. The Vikings offense will eventually wear down on the Bears with their high and out, with their solid run game, and get points, get the ball in the end zone, score, and win. This is not going to be a particularly competitive game once the Vikings offense starts clicking, and Chicago is taking another L.
I disagree. I think this is going to be a pretty close matchup. Prior to last week, I lost a lot of faith in the Bears' ability to compete with good football teams because of how their offense was looking. But it turns out firing Shane Waldron has given that offense a little bit of a boost, getting DJ Moore involved more, Caleb Williams using his legs more, and I think the home field advantage will help them in this one. The Bears, they've run the ball solidly as the season has progressed. The Vikings offense has taken a small step back from what they were over the first 5 games of the season. Sam Darnold has struggled a little bit over recent weeks. So I think in this one, with it being a divisional matchup, NFC North games are typically close, especially when the teams are in the same stratosphere of one another when it comes to talent. So I think the Bears, in a close home game, actually pull out a victory in this one.
What position are the Chicago Bears better at than the Minnesota Vikings?
You can say it's the wide receiver room.
You'd be wrong. Jordan Addison, Justin Jefferson, Powell are better than what Chicago has offered this year. They're not better at wide receiver. Their running backs aren't better. Their O-line isn't better. Their quarterback has not been better. Their defensive line hasn't been better. Their linebackers have been on about the same level, and I might begrudgingly give you the secondary. This is not a comparably talented team. This is not a comparably talented coaching staff. The Vikings are on a different level than the Bears. Be real with yourself. They're losing. Bad.
I'm being real. They're winning.
They're okay.
Small.
Hey, give me the free points. Give me the free points. I love them.
Titans heading to Houston. And while the Steelers fans have been clowning me for the 2 games they won prior to just losing to the Browns, I was very right about the Titans heading into the season. They are not a good football team. Will Levis, not a good quarterback. Their offense in totality, not great. The Texans, on the other hand, a lot of people felt heading into the season were going to be a great team. I think largely in most games this year, they have been pretty disappointing. Even when they had Nico Collins, Stephon Diggs, their entire offense healthy on the field. Last week, Nico Collins did look very good. So just based off of the strength of that, he clearly is not too hampered by the hamstring injury. I think the Texans still win.
The problem with the Houston Texans, which precludes them from being a real contender, leaving aside the injury to Stephon Diggs, they've got one of the worst offensive lines, particularly the worst interior offensive line in all of football. This offense, when playing high-level defensive tackles and elite edges, is not going to be able to score a ton of points. Jeffrey Simmons is going to flush C.J. Stroud into a ton of pressures and a ton of sacks from Harold Landry and company. The Texans' offense is not moving the ball well. Unfortunately, as we saw last week, the Titans' O-line, particularly their tackle play, might be just as bad. Danielle Hunter and Will Anderson are going to get after Will Levis. And he has shown some good mobility these past few weeks, but this team can generate pressure on him with a 3-man rush. That is going to make it real hard for him to throw, real hard for the running game to do anything, and real hard for the Titans' offense to really get clicking. This is going to be a low-scoring game. I favor the Texans because they are a more talented team. Their offensive line's better. Their defensive line has more superstars on it. And I'd say the secondary is kind of a wash at this point. The Texans secondary has not looked how I thought it would going into the year, but the Titans secondary,
Derek Stingley has been very good.
Stingley's been all right. The rest of them, not so much. I'll go with the Texans on this one, but not going to be a high-scoring affair whatsoever.
I would tend to agree. I don't think we're going to be blown away by the Texans, but they should still win. Now, another AFC South team, we have the Lions taking on the Colts in Indianapolis. And the Colts last week, Anthony Richardson had one of the best passing games of his career in a game that the Colts won. He looked great, ran the ball well, and if he's able to bring that into this game, it may be competitive, but the Lions are just not a good matchup for this Colts team. The Lions want to run the ball. I think they're third in the NFL in most rush attempts per game, and the Colts have the 5th worst rush defense in the NFL. So the Lions are going to control the game on the ground. We know Jared Goff has the ability to air the ball out through 5 passing touchdowns last week, and the Colts passing defense isn't one of the better defenses in the NFL. So I don't think the Colts will really be able to compete and keep this game close just because their defense does not match up well with the Lions' offense.
They're not going to be able to keep this game close because the Lions have one of the best run defenses in football, and that is the Colts' offense, essentially. If they can't generate some threat on the ground, I have zero faith in them. Richardson had a good performance against a Jets defense which has given up. The Lions defense is flying high. They are crushing everybody, and they want to keep this streak of dominance going. They're going to continue to do their Houston Astros imitation and bang on a trash can for the 4th straight week. The Colts offense is doing nothing. The Colts defense, not special. Lions offense, arguably the best in the NFL. I feel a little bit better about them right now than I do the Ravens. Give me the Lions in a not particularly close game. It's not going to be competitive. Gerard Mayo has been part of many great Patriots teams which always seem to go down to Miami and find a way to pick up a loss. And to his credit, he is going to continue that rich Belichickian tradition. He is losing to Miami this week. Christian Gonzalez is probably going to find himself matched up against Jalen Waddle majority of the game because of how little Tyreek Hill has done this year, which of course means Hill is going over the top, deep over the middle, and barbecuing whatever second stringer winds up on top of him. The Dolphins offense is scoring points through the air. On the ground, maybe a little bit shaky. The Patriots front seven, at the very least, is very disciplined, very well coached, so the running game might not be as open for him. On the other side of the ball, it feels like the same thing which happened last week. Drake May's going to do enough to get this offense 2-3 touchdowns, bring him downfield, make it look competitive at the very least. But this Dolphins defense has been playing above their talent level. They've been playing fairly well the past month of the year, and I just don't see them letting up enough points for the Patriots offense to keep up with Miami's. I got Miami going away with this one.
The Patriots, they've reached a point where you're excited to watch them each week because when you watch Drake May's highlights and see what he's capable of doing on the field, he makes you think they have a chance at winning games. But then when you sit down and watch the Patriots play 4 quarters of football, you look at the mistakes that the receivers made, you look at the mistakes the offensive line makes, you realize they're just not all that talented. And if Matthew Stafford is throwing for 4 touchdowns, close to 300 yards, Tua, with the speed of these receivers and how this offense has been functioning over their 3-game win streak, they're going to put points up on this Patriots team fast. And I think with how poor the Patriots offensive line is, the Dolphins are going to do what they did to the Rams a couple weeks ago, and they're going to get after Drake May.
You know, Calais Campbell, in his old age, is actually still a very effective pass rusher. I think he's leading the Dolphins in sacks. I know he's got 4, which says a lot more about the Dolphins than it does him. But he's got a lot of pressures. He's using his length, his leverage, his expertise. He's probably going to be a real factor in this game. Not something I thought I was going to say going into the year that we'd be seeing the 6'7", 42-year-old making big plays. Would you like to do the Giants game? I know how much Tommy DeVito lights your loins afire.
The Italian stallion, he's back at quarterback. Will he give them an offensive boost? Maybe. Maybe hit some more intermediate routes that Daniel Jones is just not capable of hitting. Maybe he's processing the field at a little bit higher of a level. But will that give the Giants the ability to win this game? No, I don't think so. Because at the end of the day, the Giants have one of the worst run defenses in the NFL. They're giving up 5.3 yards a carry. Bucky Irving, Rachaad White, they're going to get after it. And on top of that, Mike Evans is going to be back in the lineup, presumably, at least as of reports of us recording this video, which means if he is going to get 1,000 yards on the season still and continue that streak, he needs to average close to 100 yards a game over the last 7 games, and that starts with this Giants team. So I think Baker is going to target Mike Evans often and early. They're going to control the game on the run, and the Giants once again are going to lose at home.
You're going to find this hard to believe. I think Baker Mayfield and company, Mike Evans included, actually care a little bit more about winning the game than simply throwing the ball to Mike Evans so he can keep some arbitrary streak alive. I don't know how much he's going to be targeted. I'd be skeptical if it's a ton, given it's his first game back from a pretty meaningful injury. But look, Tommy DeVito, a magic man in his own right, is going to get after this Buccaneers defense, which has been a lot less effective than we thought initially going into the year. They just haven't had that oomph, that it factor. They haven't been forcing as many turnovers as you would like. I think Tommy DeVito sits back, cool, calm, and collected in that pocket. Maybe it collapses up the middle from Big Vita Vea pushing his guard and center into him. He doesn't care. He scoots on out, finds someone downfield, hits Malik Neighbors wide open deep, and it's a touchdown. He's going to go back. He's going to watch that on his little tablet there and say, oh, yeah, sweet, it's still open. Oh, look, Wan'Dale Robinson's also open. Next drive, boom, drops back. Vita Vea comes at him, shovels back, boom, hits Wan'Dale Robinson. The Buccaneers have lost 5 of their last 6 games, man. This is not a good football team. I think with a little juice from Tommy Boy, Tommy Parms, he gets the New York Giants a surprise, upset win at home, reinvigorates that fandom, lights the world ablaze with his Italian skill and phenomenal ability to throw the ball.
Well, the Buccaneers, while they've been on a losing streak, the Giants have 2 wins on the
They've
season.
both lost 5 of their last 6 games, man. They're in the same stratosphere of stink.
Recently, but Mike Evans is also going to be healthy. So I
No,
think
he's going to be back. He's not going to be healthy. There's a difference. I am less optimistic about his ability to stay on the field and be super effective throughout the course of this game than you are. But I got the Giants winning this one. Cowboys Commanders, here's your in-depth analysis. The Cowboys defense sucks, and they're still starting Cooper Rush instead of Trey Lance. The Commanders are winning.
This game doesn't need a lot of commentary on who he thinks is going to win the game. It's obvious most people should be picking the Commanders to win. But at this point, just start Trey Lance. Cooper Rush stinks. Jerry Jones stinks. Their running back stink. Their offensive line stinks. Their defense stinks. Just put Trey Lance out there and find out why you even traded a 4th-round pick to go get him. Why are we starting Cooper Rush at this point? It makes no sense that you're going to lose anyway.
I mean, it makes perfect sense because if Trey Lance comes in there and is good, you've given Dak Prescott a $60 million a year contract for the foreseeable future, and then you're going to have half the fan base calling for Trey Lance to start. So I kind of understand. If this season is lost, why would you create a quarterback controversy?
But if Trey Lance...
Trading Trading for Trey Lance was a
You can
bad
trade him in the
decision.
offseason.
I find that unlikely. What's the deal with his contract anyway? Is this the last year of it or he get extended?
It's probably the last year of his rookie deal because no one's picking up that team option.
Well, I don't know, man. Nice $10 million a year backup quarterback. You never know. Would you like to do the Broncos Raiders?
Another exciting matchup. You said we have good games this week. There's also a lot of bad games this week. I've said it already in previous weeks about the Raiders. They don't have much going on offense. It's Brock Bowers and then a bunch of other pieces. Offensive line isn't great. Running back's not good. Gardner Minshew, Aiden O'Connell, whoever's starting at quarterback has not been good this season. So once again, we'll probably see some flashes from Brock Bowers on defense. They don't have much around Max Crosby, so he's never truly able to get going and attack the quarterback or get in the backfield. So I think this is another game where we see a solid performance from Bo Nix, and this Broncos defense is not going to let the Raiders put up a lot of points.
I am tired of punting on these Broncos picks, man. Bo Nix still sucks. He's rapidly becoming the most overrated rookie, the most overrated quarterback in all of football. He's still not as bad as Gardner Minshew or Aiden O'Connell. What does that tell you about them? What does it tell you that I am saying that about them? The Broncos defense is in a different stratosphere than this Raiders team. The Raiders team stinks. Their defense awful. Max Crosby is a bank robber. He should give his contract back and publicly apologize for getting Antonio Pierce hired. A disgraceful man, to be sure. The Broncos are winning this game. I hate doing it. I really do. I will pick them to win for the first time all year. Maybe this inverse jinx will work and they'll pick up an embarrassing loss to Oakland. I don't care. I've got to try something new. But the current strategy,
week you're picking the Broncos to win, they're going to lose.
I hope so. I'll keep picking them to win this. Anyway, unless you've got some in-depth analysis off that.
No.
49ers taking on the Packers. And I said it when I was talking about the Bears. The Packers deserved to lose last week. They got outplayed by Chicago. Their offense was pathetic. Jordan Love has not really been that good. He wasn't good against Jacksonville. He wasn't good off a bye against a bad Bears team. And really, he was bad against the Lions. He is not at a special month. And he's just been banged up, unable to move outside the pocket. Just not a great quarterback. Something I expected from him, of course. I left him outside my top 10 quarterbacks going into the year. I was right about that. But I digress. The 49ers, on the other hand, they're alternating weeks between having an effective offense and not. 1 week it's on, 1 week it's off. It's been that way since week 4. This is an on week. After an embarrassing loss, an embarrassing Brock Purdy performance against a bad Seahawks defense, I think they snap back against a comparably bad Packers defense at Lambeau Field. I think they get after them. They're still the more talented offense. Their O-line is still better. Right now, I've got more faith in Brock Purdy, the quarterback, than I do Jordan Love. Defensively, the 49ers front seven is clearly better than the Packers. They're going to be able to keep Josh Jacobs in check, limit that run game, and give San Francisco all the touches they need to win. The 49ers are winning yet another game at Lambeau.
Has it been reported that Brock Purdy's healthy to play?
I am having faith in his ability to play.
Because he threw a couple passes and then left practice yesterday with an injury to his throwing shoulder.
The statement still stands. We're going to flip this on its head and bring back the classic narrative. Anybody can win in this 49ers offense. So either Purdy's playing or anybody can win this 49ers offense. Either way.
So you don't want a mulligan if Purdy isn't playing.
Don't care
or
for
is significantly injured.
A single injury is not enough for me to mulligan. It's got to be 2 or more.
The hate against the Packers is incredible. I think you mentioned they've been inconsistent. The 49ers have been more inconsistent. They still aren't putting points up on the board. Brock Purdy is banged up with an injury. And I believe more in the youth of this Packers team with the talent they have on offense, their ability to run the ball. The 49ers run the ball well also, but I think this Packers team is going to beat the 49ers at home in Lambeau Field.
Any reason besides that, but other than you liking them young?
I think they've been good this season, and they've as inconsistent you're alluding to them being, they've been more consistent and better than the 49ers have this season.
The difference is
the 49ers offense has not been putting the ball in the end zone.
They have been consistently inconsistent. There's a difference between inconsistent and consistently inconsistent, which you don't seem to grasp. San Francisco's winning this game.
And the 49ers special teams have been special this year.
Hey, man, Jake Moody is going to bounce back one of these. He wasn't bad last week. Moody wasn't apocalyptically bad. He didn't
Talk
miss
about the
3
special
field
teams
goals.
and their totality.
Yeah, well, great, man. Good for the totality of the special teams. Good for Jake Moody. San Francisco is winning this game. But I'll let you keep this in the NFC West. This game has a bit more pop to it.
The Cardinals going to Seattle to take on the Seahawks. I am all the way back on the Cardinals bandwagon. I was optimistic on them heading into the season. I didn't think they would be quite this good. I thought they would show a lot of flashes, show us they'd be a very competitive team in the future, but the time is now, especially with the rest of the NFC West struggling. The way they are incorporating their young, talented pieces into the offense, the strength of the run game with Kyler Murray, James Conner, DeMercado, Trey Benson, they have been a very solid offense this year, and this defense over their 4-game win streak is giving up just 14 points a game. So under Jonathan Gannon, the defense has really figured things out and started to get things going. On the Seahawks side of the field, you never know which version you're going to get from them. 5 weeks ago, they manhandled the Falcons. Then we watched them get blown out by the Bills. Overtime loss to the Rams. And most recently, beat the 49ers. So which Seahawks team is going to show up? I think the Cardinals win this one. The Seahawks have been wildly inconsistent. And I think we get a good game from Kyler Murray, Trey McBride, and the Marvin Harrison offense.
I mean, this little 4-game streak you point out, they played a super injured Chargers team. The Dolphins in Tua's first game back. The Bears and New York. So that's not exactly a murderous row of offenses they faced and shut down. Paris Campbell is the key to this game. If he can consistently seal off that edge, open up that left side, James Conner is going to have a big day running outside the tackles in space at the Seahawks defensive backs, who, despite some of their abilities in coverage, do not tackle all that well in space. Conner is breaking more tackles than pretty much anyone in football this year, and this should continue against a somewhat pathetic Seahawks defense. Once he gets through that live scrimmage, no one is easily bringing him down. The Seahawks offense, look, you can game plan and scheme to a certain extent, but you are never able to truly cover up a pathetic offensive line. That is what Seattle has. They've got the worst right side in football. Their center, not good. Their left guard, not good. Charles Cross, doing everything he can. He feels like a diet Trent Williams at this point, being the one competent piece of a line, trying to hold everything together, but he's just not good enough, and he just can't because this O-line is so bad. The Cardinals are going to generate pressure. They're going to get after it. They're going to drop 7 men back in coverage, but those 4 will come after Geno Smith, will be coming in unique and creative ways. I got the Cardinals also winning this one, and they're just going to lock down that NFC West top spot and cruise towards their 3 or 4 seed. Rams taking on the Eagles in Los Angeles. There is no position that the Rams are better at than the Eagles. Point blank, period. You could maybe argue quarterback. I think that is a stretch. The Eagles have better receivers, a better O-line, a better running back, a better D-line, better secondary pieces, and they got better linebackers. This team is superior to the Rams in every way besides coaching, and frankly, when the talent disparity is this great and your team is clicking on fire on a winning streak, I don't think it matters all that much. The Eagles are going to keep the momentum up. They're going to put another nail in the Rams' coffin, making it all that much more harder for them to climb out the deficit they put themselves into to start the year and run over them to win this game in LA.
I may be a little bit more negative on the Eagles because I don't really believe in their ability to win in a shootout when the other team is functioning on high levels and their quarterback is lighting up their defense. But when you take a look at the best version of each of these teams, it's hard to imagine a scenario where the Rams win. If the Eagles and Jalen Carter and that defense get after Matthew Stafford like the Dolphins did just a couple weeks ago, it is going to be a long game for the Rams offense, and I think that is what is likely going to happen. And then on the offensive side of the ball, Saquon is going to be able to control the game on the ground, and off of that, they're going to be able to get some big splash plays from A.J. Brown and Devonta Smith. Now, with that being said, if a shootout does happen, which I don't think is all that likely because I trust the Eagles' defensive line to control the game, it gets a little bit more murky for the Eagles where they have a chance at losing to Matthew Stafford.
I don't even think it gets that murky. The hypothetical shootouts you bring up for the Eagles to lose just don't seem possible when you look at how good Quinyon Mitchell has been, how good Slay's been, how good Cooper DeJean, the white safety, has been for the Eagles. It just doesn't seem likely. This passing attack is going to be shut down by the Eagles. I have no faith in any team besides maybe the Bills, maybe the Ravens to force this Philadelphia team into a shootout. It's just not happening. The Eagles are winning.
Last game of the video. You mentioned the Ravens headed to Los Angeles, also in Los Angeles, to take on the Chargers. And from what I've seen from Justin Herbert over the last few weeks, he's been one of the best quarterbacks in football. The way he's pushing the ball down the field to his receivers has been incredible. What we saw against the Bengals in the first half was special to watch. Now, it fell off a little bit in the second half, but I think that has more to do with not quite enough talent at the wide receiver position. And I think the Ravens are a bad matchup for this Chargers team. The Chargers want to run the ball. They want to get J.K. Dobbins going. They want to get Gus Edwards involved. And this Ravens team has been phenomenal against the run this year, which is going to force the Chargers to pass the ball a ton. And I think last week against the Steelers, the Ravens secondary stepped up a little bit. So against a Chargers team that isn't exactly extremely talented at the wide receiver position and wants to run the ball a lot, I think they're going to be made uncomfortable early in the game. And I think the Ravens offense, after a rough showing last week against a good Chargers defense, is going to get started hot, and I think the Ravens are going to win.
If you have paid attention to Jim Harbaugh throughout the course of his career, from college to the NFL, back to college, he is not taking the path of least resistance on this one. The Ravens are going to try and stop him from running. He's going to keep running it. The Chargers are going to do everything in their power to get their ground game going. And while it might not pop in the first quarter, it's going to eventually give. Jim Harbaugh is eventually going to get this unit rumbling on the ground, behind his big old fullback, behind J.K. Dobbins, behind the Gus Bus, maybe a little Herbert side action in there to really keep the defense guessing. Whatever it is, the running game is going to be a big positive for the Chargers. If they are forced to pass, they are perfectly comfortable doing that too. Ladd McConkey is toasting any member of that Ravens secondary. It's going to be easy for him. Quentin Johnston, vertical threat, making every single member of that Ravens team take notice of him. Kyle Hamilton still not on the field. They have no one who can run with him in space. They are going to have to play too high, which is going to make life a lot easier for McConkey and the Chargers tight ends. LA's offense is clicking. The Ravens offense, after getting shut down by the Steelers, kind of has a blueprint out on them. We once again know how you can limit Derrick Henry. Multiple linebackers correctly guessing what gap he's going to be firing through. If he's going outside, hit him in the backfield, stop him early, hinder the momentum, and a well-coached, talented defense like the Chargers, who can get pressure off the edge with 4 men, certainly can get push, generate hits on running backs and quarterbacks in the backfield on run plays. The Ravens offense has to pass. They're not that great at it in a vacuum without that run game backing them up, and they're just going to sputter once again. The Ravens are picking up yet another loss, and the Chargers are going to become a legitimate threat to challenge the Chiefs for the AFC West title with a big win over the Ravens this weekend.
Now, I think the Chargers are still a very solid team. I expect it to be a close game. I don't think the Ravens are going to run away with this one, as far as they're not going to win by 2+ scores, but I just don't believe a ton in the Chargers offense, very young offensive talent yet. While Quentin Johnston has made significant strides this year under Jim Harbaugh, he's developed into a very competent receiver that you can get the ball to and ask him to make some plays. But down the field, he just isn't quite that elite yet when it comes to winning jump balls in one-on-one situations. And Ladd McConkey, while he's been great, I don't think he is that guy yet to just take over and dominate this Ravens defense.
Boy, you're in for a surprise then. He is going to make something special happen on Monday night. Ladd McConkey is the key to this game, and he is why the Chargers will win. You are wrong about him. He is absolutely ready for this moment. You are simply a hater.
I'm always a hater, according to you.
Always a hater. You are a hater of anti-Michael Thomas. He does everything great in his route tree besides run the slants. I'm serious. Like, if you go look at his little route graphic, everything, every single thing, out, in, drag, whatever, anything, post, corner, vertical, all phenomenal, except the slant's pretty bad. Like, he is not a good slant.
100% on post corners, I saw.
There you go, 100% on post corners. I think he gets about 5 of those thrown his way this weekend, all for touchdowns.
So he's going for 5 touchdowns.
You never know. I'll put it to you this way. He's going to be closer to 5 touchdowns than he is to your little wimpy sputter of a prediction.
Whatever. That has been our Week 12 predictions. Let us know your predictions down in the comments below. Which games are we woefully wrong on? Use code Thicc on Underdog. It supports our channel, gives you bonus cash up to $1,000. Like the video, subscribe, and we'll see you in the next one.